So it's again, being a wise guy is not a good
Being a
advice when
wise
you deal
guy.
with.
That's what you get. You'd be arrested for being a wise guy. Hi, everyone. From 1Route, I'm Jeffrey Ross, and you're watching the 1Route RoundUp, the show that spotlights individuals making a positive difference in the telecom industry. Today, we are joined by Shai Calev. Shai is currently an industry expert and consultant working with a variety of companies, primarily in assurance and fraud management. He's previously been the risk management consulting manager at Amdocs, director of revenue assurance at CVD, operations manager at Telecom, and has served in a few other roles along the way. But my favorite thing about Shai that most might not know is that rumor has it you may also find some of the best avocados in the world if you go and visit Shai. Shai, welcome to our show. We were grateful that you're here today.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me. And this
Absolutely.
avocado tree is really something interesting. So anybody from the audience, they happen to be here in Israel, please stop by. You are not going to regret it. It's the best avocado, really.
This is, and you answered the first question, obviously, is where in the world are you? For our audience, it's Israel. But since having met you, I can honestly say, it's one of those that Israel is, I feel like it's on the bucket list of travel destinations for a lot of people and for a lot of reasons. The history, the religion, all of that. But now, having met and spoken with you, avocados might be the top of my list of. I want to try some guacamole from Israel.
If you love guacamole, that's the place. And the thing is this. There are many types of, many types of avocados, many species or whatever you call it, different
Yeah.
types. Mine called Hess,
Yes.
HAS.
Yeah.
This is I think the best one. So it's
I
really
agree.
good.
I agree. I'm
And
looking forward to
and
it.
and depending on the bees, if they come to visit, then we have a lot of fruits. If for some reason something is bothering the bees, they're not visiting at the right time, when the flower is open, then we have less of the fruits. It's very
Really?
interesting to see nature. It's amazing to see. Really.
That's fascinating.
Have you seen the movie B movie? The B movie.
Yeah. No,
I
I'm
think
with
I
you.
think it's the voice of um, this comedian. I forgot his name. He's doing like the dubbing, and it's amazing movie. It's amazing movie. It shows you about the importance of bees to our Jerry Seinfeld. That's the name of
I'll
the
tell
guy.
you, Chai, 100% agree the importance of bees. The one that I still haven't figured out is the importance of mosquitoes.
I don't know about that.
I'm
Okay,
sure they play some kind of role in the whole ecosystem, but they are quite the nuisance, much like fraudsters
that's
to telecom.
that's
So,
for sure. That's for sure.
Shai, one thing we always really enjoy learning and hearing from our guests is their journey into the telecom world. And obviously we hit some highlights in the introduction about places that you've worked and things that you've done, but in a nutshell, can you tell us what is it that got you into telecom?
Yeah, sure. So, so my journey actually started in finance
Right.
originally. That was my plan. I I got my university education in New York City, and I majored in finance, and then started to work for a bank. That was my long time dream. So I worked for a bank as an investment consultant, and then when I came back home, I joined Israeli bank. But eventually, I didn't like it so much because I felt that instead of doing like some economic work, I found myself doing some, I would say, clerical work. So started to look around, at that time, a friend introduced me to Celcom. Telecom was a new player in the telecommunication market. I would say young and kicking, that brought a new approach and provided affordable mobile services, which were very expensive beforehand. And actually, we brought the competition to the market. So I joined Celcom. Yeah. Before that, there was only one communication service provider who provided service for very, very high cost, and it was something that only a few people could afford themselves. When we joined, we brought I'm saying Celcom, when they joined, they brought much lower prices, and they actually became the biggest operator in very short time.
Yeah.
So I like the atmosphere here in Celcom at the time. I joined the finance department, and I formed a credit control team that developed mechanism to proactively identify credit violation and automatically limit the credit allowance according to some risk factors. You see, risk factors already at that point were important to me.
Okay.
And I was interested in that, and that way we were able to reduce the bad debt exposure. And then at one point there was an opening for a new position called revenue assurance manager. I didn't know much about this position, but they were looking for someone with finance background and some programming and knowledge, because I had to actually write some programs for reconciliation, which I had. So I was accepted. And that was basically how I got to to telecom first, and then to revenue assurance specifically.
Yeah, I like it. And every time I talk with you, Shai, I love learning new things because I learn how much more we have in common. and this is one of those things globally. I think if we could all focus on more on what we have in common versus what we have different.
You bet.
The collaboration of resolving something just comes a little easier. But yes, you and I both from the banking industry, the finance industry. I'm right there with you. But I also find it funny how much there is in business. It's kind of like being at the right place at the right time, or the whole. It's about who you know and those kind of situations. But
coincidence, yeah.
And I think it's interesting with telecom. Everybody that we've spoken with, there's actually very few that started their career with the mindset of I want to go into the telecom industry. A lot of people we speak with, such as yourself and myself, you kind of fall into the telecom industry by chance, by coincidence. But right. you bring a whole nother level of experience to the table. So we definitely want to spotlight that on you and the finance background, and then writing some code and learning assurance from the ground up. But
exactly.
Shai, one thing that I find interesting with you, you get the opportunity to work with companies really all over the world, and a lot of them assurance that are in the assurance departments or that have products to benefit assurance departments, revenue assurance, business assurance. Is there an area of revenue assurance to you that appears to be the most important today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, just to mention that, about the journey that we have mentioned, and then I'll tell you what I think is the most important thing, is that when I appointed as revenue assurance manager in Celcom a few years back, I had really the opportunity to establish revenue assurance operation from scratch, creating the organization, and the standardized working procedures and develop the measurements practice and, how to measure risks and benefits and how to quantify everything. And this also, a combination of finance and telecom, because in the end of the day, revenue assurance managers, they are measured by the level of benefit that they bring to the organization. Okay. And this is something that is very important. So those principles are still holding today. What I see today in the revenue assurance domain, when I joined this revenue assurance, there weren't so many revenue assurance teams. But nowadays, revenue assurance practice is very popular. It is all over the place. Almost every company already has a revenue assurance team in place, in which case there is now time for evolution. And this is also what the industry is talking about. So this evolution from just focusing on specifically on assuring the revenue, nowadays they're talking about extension to business assurance. Yes. So business assurance is not only looking at the revenue, looking at the cost, it's looking at fraud management, it is looking at customer experience, which become very, very important. And these days, I would tell you maybe two things that I see that are very, very important these days. Number one is to assure 5G, 5G assurance. 5G brings with it new risks that are associated with the new capabilities like network slicing, like edge computing, like quality of experience, like multi-partnership business models. This is one area that I think is very, very major these days. And of course, with that comes the IoT assurance and other, associated issues. But also, lately I've been participating in some margin assurance projects. Yes. So once you have the revenue assurance matured, and you are able to monitor and to assure the revenues, the completeness, the accuracy, etc. Now it is time to move and talking about profitability, which is what margin assurance all about. Because margin assurance is looking not at, for example, the measurement that companies are moving to. They are moving from ARPU, which is the average revenue per user, to average margin per user. Because in the end, if you think about it, by the end of the day, what important is the margin, it's the profitability.
No, so we're not in this business for our health. It's exactly a business.
So just monitoring the revenues and make sure that there is a completeness of traffic from network to billing, and that your interconnect settlements are accurate, and that your provisioning process is perfectly monitored. And if all that is pretty much in place, now it's the time to reconcile or to compare the ratio between revenues and the costs, which is the meaning of margin assurance. Margin assurance is about monitoring the ratio between revenues and costs, check the accumulation of revenues and costs from the granular level of subscriber and customer, all the way up through customer segments and the service and the product level. We call them dimensions. There are like 9 dimensions: a customer and customer segment and service and product and sales channels and region and sites and LOBs, and maybe I forgot something. So ultimately, we are looking at the profit margin of the organization, starting from bottom and going all the way up. Now, the good thing about it is, for example, if you are the finance manager in charge of looking at the profitability of new product, and all of a sudden there is a raise of a flag saying this specific product for some reason is not very profitable. Right. So now you have the opportunity or the tool to drill down to the services and to the customers segments, and to the customer groups and to the price plans
Okay.
that are actually the I would say the building block of this specific product. And once you have this accumulation from bottom up, you can always drill down and identify what is your weakest chain, your weakest point in the chain. Sorry. And this is the idea, looking at the profitability, not only at the revenue. It's a combination of revenues and costs in different dimensions.
I like that because, and this definitely speaks to both of our financial backgrounds. I remember back when I was in the banking industry, you speak with customers or prospective customers or whoever, businesses in general. And in my mind, margin assurance is like looking at the net income. And I remember you go to talk to a business and they'd talk about how essentially their gross revenues, I make all this money. And they don't ever focus on what they actually make. It's like, no, you don't really make this much money. Yes, you work hard, you earn this, but what does it look like at the bottom line? That's where you need to be focusing on as a business is, controlling your costs, your expenses, and all of that stuff. Because if you make $1 million, that's great, gross. But at the end of the day, if you're losing money, there's a problem, right? So
exactly.
In my mind, that's how I'm equating it is, gross revenues versus a net income. Well, margin assurance is kind of like, you have a product, or you have consumers, customers, maybe by region, who knows, that you might think, especially on the product side, this is bringing in lots of revenues, but at the end of the day, if you don't include that cost, you may be bumped.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, when there were no revenue assurance operations, of course, first of all, you need to make sure that you are monitoring your revenue chain end to end, all the business processes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But nowadays, that most, I think maybe like 99% of CSPs have some kind of revenue assurance teams. It means that their revenues and their processes are monitored. Now it's the time to get one level up. Number one, to look at new technologies like 5G. Number two, to make sure that in the end of the day, you're profitable. So it's kind of an evolution of our domain. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Well, another thing, Shai, that I think our audience hopefully will learn and find interesting is each episode we try to make sure that our guests bring their perspective to the table. And with you being in Israel, as you and I discussed earlier, we have sometimes there's either stereotypes or assumptions, I should say, that might not be true. Or if someone were to ask me what problems in telecom is Israel facing today, I couldn't answer that question. So to you, sir, I would like to ask you, in the telecom industry, is there anything specific that Israel is having to deal with, whether it's fraud or assurance or whatever it might be? But in your opinion, what is Israel really trying to tackle these days?
Yeah. Okay. Well, currently I work, after 15 years that I worked with Cividia, that's the company that I joined originally, and then in Amdocs. I now do some work as an independent consultant. Mm-hmm. And as such, I'm engaged with several software providers, such as Amdocs, and which I work with still as independent consultant on revenue assurance. But there is also a company called AB Handshake, and they are focused on voice and SMS fraud, and they have some tools to identify those areas. And what I find that, lately there is a lot of fraud that is associated with SMS. For example, one thing, and we also see it here in Israel, is the SMS fraud, which has to do with, for example, artificial SMS generation,
Yes.
or SMS phishing, stealing personal data
Right.
is very, very big problem. SMS malware, sender ID and content manipulations. So we see it all over, and I think we see it here as well, is that the SMS fraud also hits the banking industry, which means that fraudsters abuse mobile connections to target bank communication by spoofing and stealing identities, and also bank staff impersonation. So I think this is one thing that is definitely here. The other thing is the flash calls, which is also a big problem in the industry these days. So flash calls are those zero duration calls that deliver, one-time password to customers.
Right.
Also known as A2P voice versus the A2P SMS. Now the problem with those flash calls is that they don't provide any revenue to the operators, because
it takes away the SMS revenue, right?
Exactly. It takes away the SMS
when
revenue.
They're using dual authentication with SMS, that takes away that SMS revenue. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's not exactly a fraud, but it's a problem, that you're losing money. Which reminds me many years ago, when I was revenue assurance manager in Telecom, at one point we realized that was when SMS just started, we identified a problem, which was with the SMS notifications that you are getting. For example, you purchased airline ticket, they send you notification, it was completed or whatever. So we realized that all those notification SMSs were filtered out at the mediation stage, which means a lot of money or potential money was lost. Not because we didn't catch it, it's because of a commercial decision not to charge for it. So we brought it to management and we said, listen, just for your information, this is the amount you are losing. This is why. Here are the rules. By changing the rules, and for example, maybe not charging the full charge of the SMS, but maybe half of it, the company will make more money. We just raised the problem to the awareness of management. So the same can happen now with flash calls. So once we bring the information to management, they know how much money they are losing because of flash calls. They may decide to solve it somehow, maybe to charge for it or maybe to block for it.
Right.
There are ways to analyze it, but the important thing is that you bring to the decision makers important information about a problem that they may not be aware of. Just a thought.
Shai, you said it so well. to sum it up, you said it so well. And it's people like yourself with the experience and the expertise that again, we appreciate you. We appreciate the work that you are doing in the telecom industry and the work that you continue to do with the companies you work with. So hats off to you, sir. We really do. You're doing awesome stuff out there. And to our audience, obviously, you want to take note. Be sure to follow Shai or reach out to Shai, and know that there's a lot more all the way down to the granular level that needs to be paid attention to. So, Shai, this really brings us to a point of it's kind of like getting to know your margin assurance. Well, now we're looking at taking things to the granular level and getting to know our guests. So as you know, when you go around to these conferences and you meet people or in meetings and you're doing different work with different companies, you meet a lot of people and you talk to them and you kind of get to know them, but you really don't know who they are. And so the the data scientists over in the 1Route labs have come up with a questionnaire. And with this questionnaire, we are able to let our audience know who you really are. So, Shai Calev, are you ready to be a known man?
Yeah, let's shoot.
Let's see how well you know yourself.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Let's see how your scientists, analyze my character, and let's see if those questions really, discover something interesting.
If we ever peek behind the curtain and show our audience who the data scientists really are, I think that'd be comical as well. But
all right,
Shai, what is the best condiment?
Best condiment. Okay. First of all, my favorite one, I must say, number one is mustard. I need mustard just about everything, on meat or on sausage, or even just, use it with any sandwich. Nevertheless, there is one that I liked very much because I grew up in a small village that I was surrounded by Argentinian people, people that came from Argentina. They are doing the best asado, their steaks. They are using this condiment. They call it chimichurri. Have you ever tasted it? Chimichurri. It's something that you add to your steak.
I'm gonna write this
down.
It's
called chimichurri. Find it in the net, just in Google. Google it. It's something really good. I love it. So that would be one of my favorites. And again, I'm using it on just about everything. Even if I just even if I eat like hummus, you know what hummus is? This
hummus.
Tiny. Hummus. I add this chimichurri.
I was about to say, Shai, that's the Texas version of saying it is hummus.
Yeah, hummus, exactly.
That's fantastic.
That would be my favorite.
Well, 100% agree with you on the mustard, but I'm definitely gonna check out the chimichurri because I'm in. Count me in.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna love it.
If you had 5 minutes in a grocery store, in a supermarket, what would you get in 5 minutes? Other than mustard and chimichurri.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll go to the bakery section.
That's a smart man right there.
Or croissant or cake, anything that has to do with bakery, I love it. And then on my way out, I'll stop by the chocolate section.
Wow.
Getting myself some, some good chocolates like Ritter. It's like Ritter chocolate is one of my favorite ones. Ritter Spot with almonds and all that stuff. And I'm all set. Bread on one hand, chocolate on the other one, and grab some mustard. I'm all set.
I like it.
Even less than 5 minutes.
Okay. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Shai, is a hot dog a sandwich?
A hot dog. Well, you put it in the bread, right?
I say bread, meat, bread.
Yeah, you have the bread, you have the hot dog, and then a lot of mustard.
You definitely have to add mustard to the hot dog.
And of course a little bit of ketchup. Yeah, I would say it is. Although you can eat it without a sandwich, but I prefer it in a roll,
Yeah,
as a sandwich.
This is the great debate: is a hot dog a sandwich? Most people, for our audience, most will say no. But what happens? It's the hinge on the bun.
Right.
But if you cut too far and you cut that hinge off, cut it in half, now you got meat, bread. Is it a sandwich?
No.
That's too fun.
You made me hungry now.
Yeah, I know.
Having craving for this bun with a hot dog. Yeah.
Yeah. Shai, with you being in Israel, and like we said earlier, it seems to be a bucket list on a lot of people, destination someday. Have you ever been? Well, and obviously, sorry, let me say, Israel's full of history, full of religious sites, sacred sites. Have you ever visited any of these sacred religious sites?
Oh yes, of course, of
Ah,
course. And I did, and I would recommend to basically every person, be it Christian, be it Muslim, be it Jew. Israel is full of history, full of holy places for many religions. Um, Sometimes there is a tension on that, you know, in that context,
sure.
but usually it's amazing, you know, the combination of places and the combination of different interesting sites is
Ah,
amazing. So of course I visited many of those places, because the Jewish ones, but not only ones. Also
right.
very interesting Christian places in Jerusalem, in Bethlehem, in Nazareth.
Right.
Also, I kind of um, I was accompanied some of my guests who came to visit.
Oh,
So
okay.
I had the chance to visit there. Um, so yeah, definitely I visited those places, and of course the places that are important for the Jews. I visited most of them. Yeah.
Well, I'll make you a deal. When I come visit you, you can give me the tour.
Okay. I'll probably take a guide, but I'll join you for sure.
Okay. All right, Shai, just for fun here. If the police showed up at your door and arrested you without any explanation, what would your friends and family assume you have done? And for our audience, Shai has not done anything wrong. This is just for fun.
Just for fun. Yeah. Yeah. Probably will not happen because I'm very I'm following the law, of course, and all the rules. However, uh, the one time that I had an incident with the police, which may be the only reason why someone comes to my home to arrest me, it was actually in New York City. Believe it or not, in New York City of all places, I had an incident. So this, you know, police officer, the traffic police, they put me over in Manhattan, and when I drove down Third Avenue, for no reason, can you believe it? They just stopped me. They said, "Sir, please pull over." So I said, "Okay." It was Saturday afternoon, very quiet, nobody in rush. So the police officer came to me. He took my license and he went to his police car. And after a while, he kind of using his siren to call me back, not not bring back my license, but call me back. And
Oh,
he
okay.
showed a lot of. He was very arrogant, I have to say, this police officer. So I didn't like his attitude, believe it or not. And I was young and stupid. So when he called me over and say, "Here is your license, just go." So I was stupid enough to ask him, "So why did you pull me over?" Can you believe me? How inexperienced I was. I was young. And of course, today I would never do it if a police officer just give you back the, the,
You
the,
just move
the
on, right?
papers, just move on. So I said, "No, sir, I insist. You tell me why you stopped me." So I said he was very arrogant and he showed me a lot of contempt. So he said, "You know something? Now that you are being a wise guy, you know something? I'll give you a ticket. You passed through red light. How about that?" I said, "No, but I didn't." He said, "No, well, now you did." So he
Oh,
gave me the
no.
ticket. So it's again, being, a wise guy is not a good
Being a
advice when
wise
you deal
guy.
with
That's
police
what you'd
officers.
get. You'd be arrested for being a wise guy.
So that would be probably the only reason why I would ever been arrested.
Uh,
Maybe I said the wrong. But nowadays that I'm much older, more experienced, chances of me doing
we,
it is
we
very
get a
low.
little more patient with our age, don't we?
Exactly.
All right, Shai.
I learned my lesson.
It took me a few speeding tickets to finally learn my lesson too. But Shai, what is the last book that you read?
Okay. So, well, the last book that I read wasn't very interesting one. It was written by a journalist on politics, but the one before was really good. One of my favorite authors is Gabriel Garcia Marquez. He's a Colombian author. Here, many years ago, I wrote his book, 100 Years of Solitude, I think is the word. Like
Solitude?
loneliness,
Yep.
solitude.
Yep.
Yeah. So I read the 100 Years of Solitude, and I liked his style very much. So lately, I read another book of him called Love at Time of Cholera, which is along the same lines. Looking at people. Also combined with the history of Colombia, his country, but also looking at people. People have they have love, they have passion, they have sorrow, they have happiness. All that is combined in his stories, and it's a story about a love that started when these people were very young and actually matured only 50 or 40 years later. So it's showing all that love that is still there, is still live, but people are having different routes in life, but eventually they meet again. And this is the style of this author, which I like very much. So that was
Very nice.
the last book I read.
Well, sticking with the arts, so to speak, literature, music, and the arts. If every time that you walked into a room or into a meeting, a song could play, like a walk-in song, an introductory song, Here Comes Shai, what song would you have played?
Okay, that's a nice one. One song that, well, one band that all my friends know that is associated with me. You would probably know this band because it's an American band called Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Yes.
One of my, there are many, Suzy Q and stuff, but my favorite one that always goes with me is Have You Ever Seen the Rain?
Coming down on a sunny day.
Coming down on a sunny day. You got it. You got that right. I just love this song, and I hear it for so many years. So that would probably be my favorite one that is associated with me entering to any building.
100% agree with you there. I think I may have told you in the past, but my kids always think the Creedence Clearwater Revival song "Someday Never Comes," which is unfortunately a sad song, but they know my consistent answer anytime they ask for something or they want to do something is like, not right now, but maybe someday. And so now they've turned that song into, but Dad, someday never comes.
Someday never come. Right.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Well, at least they learn something from the lyrics. It's so important.
They do.
Listen to it.
They also like to sing to the song "The Midnight Special" by CCR. So let the midnight specials shine down on me.
Yeah. Shine up. Yeah. No, I really love this band, and I love many of their songs. And this one in particular. And by the way, the interesting thing, even my kids, they have it in their playlist nowadays.
Absolutely, as they should.
I told them about it, and they listen to this band. So
yeah, I was about to say, for whoever's watching, if you don't have Creedence Clearwater Revival in your playlist,
you should.
It's time to add it.
You should.
Sticking to music, Shai. Now let's go over on the opposite side. what song in the history of music should never have been created? If you could erase the song from this earth, what would you get rid of?
Well,
What would you tell my kids to make sure to never have in their playlist?
well, I tell you what, I tell you, I wouldn't identify any specific song, but there are quite a few songs lately that are so shallow to me.
Okay.
Very synthetic songs
Right.
with very, very poor text, saying very basic message that you will forget, just like you speak to someone in the train station and you will forget about it. So some of those songs are making hits for 3 or 4 weeks and then they disappear. Nobody will never want to listen to them. So I will not, say something specific, but I expect from songwriters to bring me some depth, to
Okay.
bring me some meaning, and even those songs that you've mentioned from Creedence Clearwater, the words have meaning. Even the
Yeah.
who's the rain or that you haven't seen the rain, it has a meaning. Someone delivered a message. It's not only the music. So to me, music is have to be a complete creation of text and depth of music. And so those synthetic, shallow type of songs, I don't want to listen to them, and hope they will be erased.
Fair enough. I like that. And to answer the question from Creedence Clearwater Revival, have I ever seen rain come down on a sunny day? Yes. Texas has a weird way of being able to rain while the sun is still shining, and I haven't figured that one
Wow.
out.
Wow. That's amazing.
All right, Shai, this one comes from my wife, and I'm very interested to know as well. If you only had 24 hours in Israel, which we get that that's an entire country, but if you only had 24 hours, what are the must go to places to see?
Okay. Well, thanks. And this in this specific question, it's good that Israel is very small.
That's
Usually,
true. That's true.
generally speaking, it's not good. It's not good because it's too small. Israel is like the size of New Jersey. It's very, very small. However, if you have only 24 hours, that's an advantage, right? So you can see in the same day, if you start early in the morning, you drive south toward Eilat, which is the southern part. It's the
Okay.
Red Sea. It's where, Egypt, Jordan, and Israel have like joint border.
Okay.
So you drive there still early in the morning. You drive through the desert, which is amazing. I love desert. And then you drive to the north to Jerusalem,
Okay.
which is like 2 hours drive from Eilat, 2 or 3.
Oh,
So
that's
we
not bad.
already in the maybe like late morning, and you arrive to Jerusalem, which is of course a must-see place in Israel. It's amazing. It's really so much history, so much passion, so much things to do there. So it's really amazing. There is the old city and the new city, and the Armenian quarter and the Christian quarter and the Muslim quarter and the Christian quarter in the old city. It's all very squeezed, but it's amazing. Then I would drive to the north of Israel, which is like mountains
Oh,
of
yeah.
green forest, beautiful mountains. You go through on your way. You go through the Sea of Galilee, which is a must see.
Right. Sea of
Uh,
Galilee. I'm with you.
Sea of Galilee is amazing. So you drive from Jerusalem to the north, go around the Sea of Galilee, see how beautiful it is, and then finish your day in the Hermon Mountain, which is in the north. It's in the Golan Heights,
Okay.
which you can find some snow. So if you have some time, you can even do some skiing. So in
Really?
one day, in one day you had a chance to see the desert, to see the Red Sea, and maybe, I forgot to say, snorkel there a little bit, maybe dive a little bit, then drive to Jerusalem, take a tour in the old city, continue north to the Sea of Galilee, and finish in the Mount of Hermon, where you can see real snow, and then simply drive back to Tel Aviv for the evening scene, the nightlife of Tel Aviv.
Finish the night in Tel Aviv with Shai and some wonderful avocados.
Yeah, yeah.
I like it. That's incredible.
Yeah,
all right.
it is.
Shai, one more question for you, sir. What brings you hope?
Okay. Well, we all need hope, right? Otherwise, what are we living for if there is no hope? So,
solid
yeah.
question.
Well, you mentioned the importance of communication, right? We are in the communication business, but communication between people is probably the one secret for a better life. And I believe that in a world that all the problems actually, or most of the problems caused by people, call them politicians, call them whatever, bad people, good people, but you need communication between people. If you want to have hope, you want to believe that you will have a chance to speak to just about everybody on this planet.
Right.
And I think the language that really opened the doors and bring down all the obstacles is music.
Yeah.
I sometimes hear music from, artists that coming from different countries all over the world. It just came straight to my heart. So I believe music is
it is a
the means
universal
for
language.
communication.
It
is.
Music, the universal language that can bring all kinds of emotion. That's fantastic. Well said, sir. Shai Calev,
Thank you.
You are now a known man. And all that's left to do is roll out the red carpet for you, sir. And you look in the camera and tell us what is on the horizon for yourself.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned, I'm an optimistic person. So I think that you always look at the bright side of life. Okay. And even if sometimes you feel down, you know that it is the darkest just before dawn. So I believe in a good future with a lot of music and with a lot of hope, and always look at the bright side of life. That's my motto.
I like it. Shai, thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you continue to do. Thank you for the optimistic attitude that you bring to the industry and to life in general. So to our audience, definitely make sure to go out, find Shai Calev online on social media, follow him, get in contact with this guy. Very positive, very optimistic, and brings a wealth of knowledge to the assurance and fraud management world. Also, be sure to follow us on YouTube, where you can catch up with all of our other 1Route RoundUp series and where we spotlight other individuals and companies making a positive difference in this industry. So be sure to like, subscribe, InstaFace, tweet, chat, all that stuff that you do these days. Thumbs up, and check out Shai Calev. Check out more of the 1Route. And until the next round, we'll see you later. Thank you, Shai.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey, and thank you, 1Route, and thank you for having me here and giving me the opportunity to meet so many people. So, thank you.
Absolutely. All right, sir. Be good.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.